This geezer here, no, we were both twisted, you know, at birth, I think, you know, we pursued rock and roll. I was sick when I saw him, I can tell you that.
No ranking chart could ever challenge Jeff Beck, but the three names he personally chose as the greatest guitarists of his life left the world stunned. Behind each of those choices lay confrontations, moments of cultural shock, and even times when Jeff nearly gave it all up because he felt unworthy.
Immovable force, I can actually get some inspiration, and he was a great source of inspiration.
So, who were the ones that truly earned Jeff Beck's reverence? The answer is more than just a list. It's a series of secrets and little-known truths about the connection between a legend and the only three individuals he ever revered.
Me, which is, I couldn't believe, you know, and he said, what's that let you play? And happenings 10 years time ago, he said, I swiped that on this. And I thought, wait a minute, this is really incredible.
Jimi Hendrix. Even for an artist like Jeff Beck, the first moment he encountered Jimi Hendrix became an unforgettable turning point. In 1966, amidst London's explosive scene, Jeff and Eric Clapton stepped into a small club to watch a mysterious newcomer from the U.S. perform. What Jeff witnessed on stage that night completely reshaped his belief in music and his own place in the world of guitar. In an interview years later, Jeff declared, "When I saw Jimi, I knew this was trouble. He blew everything away and tossed us into the bin." Jimi Hendrix's arrival didn't just spark debates among experts, it directly posed a new challenge to the entire British guitar generation at the time.
So I went along to see Hendrix at Blazes. It was unbelievable. Great. Great. It was like a bomb blowing up in the right place.
To Jeff, Jimi wasn't just a technical marvel, but a pioneer who transformed performance into true art. Jeff once remarked, "The way Jimi played, you didn't feel like anything was missing. Everything was powerful and full." Jimi Hendrix didn't just command the guitar as if it were part of his body. He elevated every note to a rare level of transcendence. Offstage, Jimi continued to surprise Jeff with his humility, openness, and respectful attitude toward his fellow British musicians. On one occasion, Jimi even asked Jeff about the unique riffs in Heart Full of Soul, showing genuine interest in his peers' style. Their admiration wasn't limited to a distance. They jammed together on multiple occasions, most notably during a series of nights at the Scene Club in New York in June 1968. These jam sessions weren't just displays of skill, they were moments where two major forces found unexpected harmony through music. According to colleagues, Jeff once gave Jimi a Stratocaster as a gift, and Jimi openly called Jeff the best during various American TV appearances. During this time, artists like Jeff and Jimi proved that the height of competition could still lead to deep artistic kinship. In a recorded conversation from 2003, Jeff Beck admitted, "After watching Jimi perform, I just went home wondering what I would even do with my life." Jeff's admiration for Jimi was so profound that he once considered quitting the guitar altogether, unsure of what more he could achieve. Even after becoming a top name, Jeff still described Jimi as the one who rewrote every rule in just one night.
Yeah, I mean, who wasn't? It was like, what the hell am I going to do tomorrow, you know?
The impact of Jimi Hendrix on Jeff Beck's career extended far beyond personal emotions. It was clearly reflected in his later musical output. Blow by Blow and Wired are prime examples of Jeff pushing sonic boundaries, emphasizing effects, distortion fuzz, and explosive arrangements, all hallmarks of Jimi Hendrix's signature sound. International media often referred to this as the Hendrix shock, a phase that forced Jeff to completely reinvent himself if he wanted to stay at the top. Jeff's respect for Jimmy also manifested in a series of cover performances he brought to the stage over the decades. Audiences at major tours witnessed Jeff Beck play Little Wing 2011, Manic Depression with Seal 1993, Red House, and Bold as Love, all delivered with his unmistakable touch. These covers weren't just tributes, they were evidence of a stylistic fusion between two massive forces. Jeff repeatedly emphasized that Jimmy was not simply an idol, but a driving force behind his quest to constantly break technical and creative boundaries in music. Jimi Hendrix didn't just inspire Jeff artistically, he was also a genuine friend. That relationship deeply influenced how Jeff viewed competition, creative spirit, and the mindset of a true artist. Even in his final years, Jeff Beck affirmed, "There isn't a single photo of me with Jimmy, but his impact is forever." The story of Jimi Hendrix is not only about unmatched technique or stage records, it lies in the fact that a single appearance from him was enough to completely transform the worldview of the era's most brilliant talents, including Jeff Beck himself. John McLaughlin. In the late 1960s, while rock was dominating the charts, Jeff began paying attention to a new and more intricate musical current fusion. It was during this period that John McLaughlin emerged as a singular phenomenon in the global guitar scene, a musician who relentlessly broke boundaries and pushed music beyond traditional frameworks. Jeff Beck repeatedly stated that among all the artists he had ever encountered, John McLaughlin was the one who made him relearn creativity and reassess himself. In interviews with international media, Jeff remarked, "John McLaughlin gave us so many new ways of looking at the guitar. I think he's the greatest living player." For Jeff, this admiration stemmed not only from John's extraordinary technical skills, but also from his ability to blend jazz, rock, classical, and Eastern musical elements into every composition. "He's peerless," Jeff emphasized when speaking about the colleague who had shared some of the finest moments with him on international stages. Their connection extended far beyond distant admiration. In 1975, Jeff Beck and John McLaughlin shared a major stage on the Mahavishnu Orchestra and Jeff Beck Group Tour, creating a string of concerts that critics hailed as the artistic standard of modern fusion. This collaboration not only sparked a wave of excitement in professional circles, but also had a direct impact on Jeff's creative direction. He began to embrace more complex rhythmic pattern scales and high-speed solos, hallmarks of Mahavishnu Orchestra's style, especially evident in albums like Blow by Blow with tracks such as Freeway Jam and Wired, where Eastern and jazz fusion influences formed the core of the project. Jeff often admitted he spent countless hours trying to emulate John McLaughlin's secret exercises, only to fail in matching his speed or imagination. On one occasion, Jeff jokingly said that after watching John perform in 1975, he felt like giving up music because he got blown off the stage. Still, that sense of helplessness became the driving force behind Jeff's constant reinvention, pushing him to expand his technical and conceptual frontiers. John's influence is most clearly heard in pieces like "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers", where Jeff's phrasing and emotional depth carry a strong fusion spirit. Beyond their joint performances, Jeff and John nearly released a collaborative album, but the project fell through due to scheduling conflicts. Even so, their friendship and mutual respect never faded. John McLaughlin once declared in the international press, "Jeff Beck is the greatest electric guitarist of all time to me." In return, Jeff once shared John McLaughlin's praise would be enough to satisfy me if I had to leave this world. Within the global guitar community, their relationship is seen as a benchmark of mutual learning, respect, and the relentless pursuit of innovation between two towering figures. It wasn't only technical influence. John McLaughlin deeply shaped Jeff Beck's musical philosophy and creative freedom. In his final interviews, Jeff frequently revisited his special connection with John, stressing that constantly breaking limits, combining diverse styles, and refusing to stand still were the greatest lessons he had drawn from his friend and collaborator. The most concrete proof lies in Jeff's bold decision to pivot his entire musical path from blues rock to fusion, launching a new chapter with projects alongside top artists in the genre. Music critics and major publications like Guitar World regarded the collaboration between Jeff Beck and John McLaughlin in both tours and studio settings as the pinnacle of artistic interplay, helping to propel fusion to the forefront of global music. Their joint performances, such as Django at tribute events or Power with Stanley Clarke, have since become iconic, often treated as essential study material by aspiring fusion guitarists. Jeff Beck also frequently cited John McLaughlin's seminal works like Inner Mounting Flame and his recordings with Miles Davis as indispensable sources of inspiration in his own creative journey. Their mutual respect was never limited to words. It was reflected in professional support, idea exchanges, and shared contributions to the enduring legacy of modern fusion music. Jimmy Page. From their teenage years in Surrey, Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were connected through every song, every early guitar they touched. That bond laid the foundation for one of the most influential relationships in the history of British rock. When Eric Clapton left the Yardbirds in 1965, Jimmy Page had no hesitation in recommending Jeff as his replacement, ushering in an era where two guitars moved in tandem and created an unprecedented wave of innovation within the band. The pair quickly became the center of attention, constantly delivering riffs, solos, and techniques that critics called the Yardbirds' treasure trove of ideas. Throughout their time together, Jeff and Jimmy maintained a dynamic that was both collaborative and competitive. The rivalry didn't stop at the stage, it extended into the studio, where they challenged each other to write riffs within 10 minutes, with the loser having to buy dinner. This wasn't a toxic competition, but rather a driving force that pushed each of them to constantly evolve their technique and musical thinking. According to Jeff Beck, our time in the Yardbirds was when Jimmy and I pushed each other to the outer edge of creativity. We learned from one another and tried everything possible to make music no one had ever heard before. The clash of two strong artistic personalities propelled the Yardbirds to icon status in British rock, with recordings like Heart Full of Soul and Beck's Bolero, as well as memorable appearances in the film Blow Up. But such strong characters inevitably came into conflict. Differing visions eventually led Jeff to leave the group in 1966. Even when there were periods of tension due to competition, both Jeff and Jimmy maintained mutual respect and were always willing to support each other when needed. Their connection was evident in numerous major moments in both their careers. When Jeff Beck suffered a hand injury and sank into depression in 1969, Jimmy Page reached out, encouraging his old friend to write music and return to the stage. In later events, such as the 1983 Arms concert and the 2009 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Jimmy not only stood by Jeff on stage, but gave heartfelt speeches honoring their decades-long friendship. Jimmy even gave Jeff a Telecaster as a personal gift, symbolizing a timeless bond. Their mutual influence extended far beyond their group work. In several solo projects, Jeff actively sought Jimmy's feedback on demos, and Jimmy's production input often went uncredited. Jeff studied Jimmy's approach to multi-layered music production, while Jimmy learned Jeff's signature techniques in feedback and sustain. This exchange helped both solidify their distinct styles. Jeff pursued instrumental fusion in albums like Blow by Blow, while Jimmy made history with Led Zeppelin and its legendary classic rock anthems. The international media often described the pair as a power duo, a fusion of two of modern blues rock's most forceful creative streams. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked Jimmy Page third and Jeff Beck fifth among the greatest guitarists of all time. Many peers, including Eric Clapton, once joked, "The relationship between Jeff and Jimmy is like the perfect couple in sync." Stories from behind the scenes continue to fascinate journalists to this day. Jeff once recalled how the two of them bet on writing riffs in 10 minutes with the loser picking up the dinner tab. Jimmy shared that Jeff was the only one daring enough to break rules on stage, something he described as the true essence of rock. When Jeff Beck was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009, Jimmy Page didn't just show up. He delivered a deeply personal tribute Jeff could channel music from another world. The relationship between Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page is a symbol of relentless learning, innovation, and healthy rivalry. Their story isn't just a chapter in a band's history, it's a journey of growth, ambition, and inspiration that shaped modern music itself. Thanks to their many duels, generations of guitarists have been given a legend through the lens of legacy. Over more than 6 decades in music, Jeff Beck established himself as one of the most exceptional and influential guitarists in modern music. With 17 studio albums, thousands of live performances across continents, and collaborations with icons such as Stevie Wonder, Rod Stewart, Mick Jagger, and Johnny Depp, Beck built a reputation that remains untouchable. 8 Grammy Awards, the 2 inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and numerous international honors stand as proof of his artistic value and enduring global impact. Landmark works like Blow by Blow, Wired Truth, and signature tracks such as Beck's Bolero Cause, We've Ended as Lovers, and People Get Ready have become new benchmarks in the art of guitar. International publications from Rolling Stone to Guitar World consistently rank Beck among the greatest musicians in history, highlighting his fearless creativity and unwavering innovation, inspiring generations including Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Slash, and Brian May. What set Jeff Beck apart wasn't just talent, it was his uncompromising personality and meticulous work ethic. Known for his obsession with detail, Beck took control of every element in production, from arrangement and studio techniques to selecting bandmates and collaborators. He never took shortcuts with his craft, often spending hours perfecting a solo or remixing an entire track until it met his exact standards. Unwilling to make any compromise that could dilute his creative identity, Beck routinely turned down major contracts when commercial pressures threatened his artistic integrity. For him, a true artist must stay loyal to inspiration and personal standards regardless of outside pressure. This perfectionism, combined with a fiercely uncompromising nature, meant Jeff Beck constantly faced conflict and tension throughout his career. His time with the Jeff Beck Group serves as a prime example. Clashes over control finances and musical direction frequently put him at odds with Rod Stewart and Ron Wood. Stewart once described Beck as difficult and slow to forgive, while Wood shared that he often felt lost in Beck's shadow and had to leave the group to assert his own identity. Many rehearsals reportedly turned into marathon arguments. Following his departure from the group, Beck formed Beck Bogert and Appice, but disputes over artistic leadership re-emerged. Tim Bogert, known for his flashy stage presence, often drew too much attention, forcing Beck to fight to reclaim his position. Carmine Appice later admitted the group couldn't last because no one was willing to back down. Multiple tours and major projects collapsed simply because common ground couldn't be found. In the studio, Beck was even more exacting with his collaborators. Artists like Jan Hammer and Max Middleton shared that Beck could halt an entire session over just a few keyboard notes overpowering the guitar. He never hesitated to argue rework arrangements or even remove collaborators when artistic visions diverged. While this sometimes created tension, it also ensured that Beck's recordings consistently maintained the highest standards. He didn't hesitate to say no to major stars either if he sensed a loss of control. One example was his abrupt exit from a project with Mick Jagger due to creative disagreements, or the disappointment he caused Keith Moon and Phil Collins by withdrawing from planned appearances. With record labels, Beck never shied away from confrontation. When pushed toward a more commercial, market-friendly sound, he pushed back, often publicly. Guitar Player once wrote, "Jeff Beck is one of the rare artists willing to risk everything to preserve creative freedom." Beck also voiced his views on modern musical trends, which he believed lacked sufficient artistic value, particularly during the rise of punk rock and new wave in the UK. His opinions sparked backlash, earning him labels such as conservative or eccentric. But Beck never backed down or changed his stance. All of these clashes, confrontations, and battles shaped Jeff Beck into the trailblazer of modern guitar. Many of his peers admitted that working with him was a challenge, not just in skill, but in personal conviction. One artist who collaborated with Beck said, "To work with Jeff, you had to be brave, you had to endure pressure, and you couldn't run from conflict. In return, you'd learn what real creativity is, and what it means to defend your artistic identity at all costs." This is why Jeff Beck is revered by later generations as a symbol of difference, innovation, and persistence. From Eddie Van Halen and Joe Satriani to Slash, Brian May, and Steve Vai, all have credited Beck not only with technical influence, but also for teaching them how to preserve their artistic spirit under pressure. Tribute albums, and memorial concerts around the globe continue to celebrate the essence of Beck's legacy, that it was his refusal to compromise and his willingness to stand up for his beliefs that made him a vital chapter in guitar history. Jeff Beck's journey is a lesson to every young artist about the value of embracing challenges, learning from both allies and rivals, and committing fully to personal creativity. All of the experiences, confrontations, and trials forged a legend not just as a musician, but as a symbol of fearless expression and boundless creative ambition in modern music. If Jeff Beck's journey, marked by conflict defiance and an uncompromising spirit, has given you a deeper understanding of the power of being different in art, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our special features on other music legends. Share this video with your friends and fellow guitar lovers, because the inspiration and relentless spirit of Jeff Beck deserve to be passed on to future generations. Sometimes it's the clashes and the challenges that forge an immortal legend.